Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Gold Mine Podcast. Today, y'all, we are in for some treats because I have a very special guest with me today, Miss Shanna. She is also known as the Fun Friend. And so, listen, we're here to get all the girls together, as she would say. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be invited.
Yes, of course. Now, I would just like for you to give us a little synopsis about who you are. Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do. So we already know kind of like where this conversation is going.
Okay, well, it's good to meet you, ladies. Whenever you get to hear this, I hope that it gives you good information and insight into the episode. But a little about me, I am Shanna Mann. I'm born and raised in Georgia. I went to school for accounting, so I'm an accountant. I have a business, a firm here in Atlanta called Golden Solutions Tax. And from that business that was birthed, I've worked with a lot of great entrepreneurs in Metro Atlanta area, all over the US. And from there, I got the passion to speak more in community about finances because not only do you need one part of your finances organized, but sometimes we need more of our overall financial plan in order. So that's where the Fun Friend insert. We're a nonprofit community. We are online digital communities, provide you with resources and information on your personal and business finances. So if you have found us before, or if you haven't found us yet, you can find us on social media. That's the best way to kind of gather in community with us if you're interested in those topics.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. If you guys have not guessed already, we're going to be talking about money today. And I think it's super important. I've been following you on social media for a minute. I love all of your content, a lot of great tips and just information that we need, especially as entrepreneurs, small business owners, just about the money side of things. I think a lot of times, what I'm seeing as a business coach is a lot of people, they want to make money, so they start their businesses. They do what's convenient, what's fast, and a lot of it doesn't position you to be in a good position business-wise, like as far as getting funding and taking advantage of a lot of the benefits or just a lot of the things that the government or other agencies have that we could take advantage of. And so your platform is definitely really good at giving a lot of tips to get your business in order. So particularly you were doing a live about how to pay yourself. And I was like, wow, that's a good interesting topic. A lot of people don't talk about it, especially when, of course, in a 9 to 5, we don't really talk about how much people are paid and, that part, but especially when it comes to entrepreneurship and small businesses, nobody really talks about the concept of paying themselves and whether it's a, right or wrong way, which there is definitely a wrong way of doing it. But I thought it was such a great live. And I was like, I need her to come on and talk about this in the business, but not business edition of my podcast. And so what were you seeing that kind of led you to talk more about those types of topics with businesses and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, well, it started with my experience. I've been an accountant for 8+ years. I graduated with a bachelor's degree and have had experience since then in some amazing industries from small, medium, large. And my corporate, report went all the way up into management. It's been an amazing journey. But as I transitioned over into entrepreneurial accounting and, working with small business owners, I noticed that there were a lot of differences in how we actually operate our businesses and how we actually consider ourselves owners and CEOs of those businesses. And so a lot of my topics and things that I speak on in the community platform, which is kind of my passion project, is just getting out information and resources around those types of obstacles. So I like to talk about about, paying yourself, obviously business structure, tax advice, some of the topics that we may be familiar with, but not all the way. So I typically dive into what I notice is I'm being asked, or what I notice people kind of have a little bit of less understanding about. I kind of think that I have a way of translating, information from a more, accounting related topic to just a personal you and me, let's talk about money topic, that sometimes I feel like in the industry, it gets kind of stiff. And I know there are a lot of platforms out here, people who are sharing this information in a relatable way, in a way that's like, oh, this is what we're talking about today. And I just want to, help push that forward. So I like to even talk to other finance professionals in the industry. I'll normally bring on experts on particular topics, but in general, I have, broader knowledge. And so whatever comes up, I just, like to put it all out, talk about it. What questions do y'all have about it? Let's literally just break it down into conversation pieces, because it shouldn't be hard to talk about. And a lot of what I notice is that business owners go through a lot of transition from the startup phase to maybe a more successful, as some people would say, established business. And there's a lot of different steps and transitions that you take during that time frame, not only personal, but business wise, and how you manage that role. But more importantly, on paying ourselves, we oftentimes put that at the very last, and we don't really understand how important it is to make your business your source of income. Maybe you're coming from a bad financial situation in the past. Maybe you've never had comfortability around finances. Maybe you're trying to get yourself to a more, secure place personally. You may be getting out of a relationship or marriage, or all the different things. But in general, we have to start understanding that we have to take that responsibility. And I know it's not as easy for everybody. So it's not just here's some 1, 2, 3 step tips, figure it out, but just opening the conversation so that we can begin understanding what that's like. And, I know today won't be the same day when you guys hear this episode. Today is actually Equal Pay Day. March 15th is the date that the administration and the government says, hey, this is how long it takes a woman to make the same amount of money that a man made at the end of 2021. So it takes us this extra 3.5 months to make the pay that non-Hispanic white male would have made. And that's just women in general. We're not even talking about Latino women, Black women, Asian Pacific. It's truly a generalized figure. It takes Black women all the way up until September. So imagine working another 6 months before you even make the amount of money that someone in a similar role or position, or similar, amount of resources, or not resources, but similar amount of, comparable work ethic or whatever. And they already made their money, and you're still working into the next year to make the same amount. So it's a little bit discouraging when I hear things like that. But I also am on the optimistic side of the way money works. And I want people to kind of be on that side. That's why I'm more of the fun friend. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer and just be like, well, this is what we need to do, and you're not doing that. No, figure it out. It definitely isn't an easy role for everyone to step into, but we try to make it where we can kind of open the conversation to help you get there.
Yeah.
So that's really where I come in at.
Yeah. And we thank you for it. One of the things we were talking before, we were talking about this whole subject in the podcast. One of the things that stood out is that you said something about Black women, specifically one of the fastest growing groups of people to start businesses. And we're also the fastest to leave the market though. And could you just kind of speak on that a little bit? It really stood out to me. And I think that more people need to understand this.
Yeah. Let me think. I usually have the statistics pulled up because I look at things like that every year. Your, local Department of Labor may put out very particular statistics around this, but the, U.S. Department of Labor, they will put these statistics out. And they're just something that I think is good to look at, because I know that when we highlight that Black women are the fastest group of entrepreneurs in the country, it's an amazing thing. And don't get me wrong, I love to see it all day. I am the one who is going to support Black business. I don't care. I know, some people are like, we got to work through some things with supporting our Black businesses because, structure wise, things aren't the same. But we don't start off on the same foot as others where we have, family and friend investors, or we have businesses held down. We really are starting becoming the first millionaires of our family, or the first successful people in our families, and we don't get a lot of support. So I'm going to support a business all day, and I love that we are always stepping out to try something for ourselves before we get labeled lazy and we, whatever the case may be in the workforce, where it seems as though, oh, you don't get wealth, or you don't attain wealth unless you work so hard, and I don't want to bring this up, but I know the Kim Kardashian comment that she made on her show. I just said, hey, girl, I'm gonna leave that conversation there. I could have did a whole rant on that one. But that's for another day, right? It's not just about working and having all the tools and resources. We definitely have a disadvantage. And so that statistic is, put out into for everyone to see. I wish I had the link to tell you where to go, but Google, labor statistics. We are not only the fastest to start the businesses, but we, with the disadvantages and everything going on, we are the first to exit the market, and fastest to exit the market. I think the percentage of successful businesses is actually such a small percentage. It may be about 6%. So if you take that high 90% or so, and you actually take it down to who actually stays in business, it's such, what I mean? That's drastic. That's a lot. And it's alarming because it's like, why is that? I want that to also be in combination of us, stating the statistic that a lot of us don't make it. And how can we close that gap? If we're all getting in the market as quickly or in such masses, how do we stay in it? And that's where I feel like the conversation has to kind of be had around. So when I did the live, that was where I had kind of looked at that data. I think about the conversations I have with clients and just friends and family and other entrepreneurs. I know I'm in Atlanta. Atlanta's a city of networking. There's a lot of, minority-owned businesses here. The hustle culture is, alive and well, and I love to see it. And so I'm around every day where I see a Black-owned business and I see them doing well, but we need more. And so having that conversation sometimes is not the fun conversation, but I think, just address it, talk about it, and understanding that some of those barriers, we can't really, I guess we can't really use that as our, oh, that's why. That is a lot of reason why, but also realize that there's structure in place. You have to have, accountability, which, you post about a lot, making sure you're organized, making sure you set up the business correctly, all those type of things, which we'll get into. But what I primarily talk to people about is, first of all, everyone doesn't count success the same either when it comes to business ownership. So I try to keep in mind what is success to one entrepreneur compared to another, because success for me could be, oh, I just have more free time. I only, maybe make an extra $5,000 a month, and that's good for me and my expenses. I don't have to have 6-figure months. I don't have to have 6-figure, that could be successful for someone. Someone could say, oh no, I'm for sure, I gotta, I want to be a millionaire. I have to X, Y, and Z. And that's my story of success. So understanding what is your success story and understanding that everybody's is not the same. Social media will have it where you think you have to make 6 figures in the first 30 days or you're not successful, or you got to make 6 figures this year or you're not successful. But even making 6 figures, if you're just, working so hard to make over 6 figures, you're going to be disappointed when it comes to tax, because tax is actually going to take some of that from you. Not only your operating expenses are going to take some of that from you. So once you see what you're actually left with, you may have to re-strategize and understand that that's not even enough for you to sustain. So keep in mind, go by whatever makes your success story a success for you.
Yeah.
And I do that by one, have the conversation of what is money. So, money, I think, I look up definitions. It says a commodity accepted by general consent. Money is any item or verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment. And it says money eliminates issue from the double coincidences of what can happen during bartering. So money to me could be whatever makes my life comfortable, whatever I'm willing to, have as my cushion in my savings account. What do I need to pay myself to live this life comfortably? And I could only go for that. I don't have to go for, the whole shebang of, oh, let me build a multi-million-dollar business to sell it. Some people are at that point where they're like, nah, I can't do anything less but grow a business, build this business so that I can sell it. And that's my retirement plan. And so really thinking about what money means to you individually is where you need to get to the goal of how much do I need to sustain my lifestyle and to pay myself.
Wow, that's crazy. That's a whole different perspective. A lot of times our goal is a certain number, but thinking about it in that changes so much. What really is the goal? Is it to have a business to leave to your kids? Is it for you to be able to sustain the type of lifestyle that you kind of aspire to? Or selling the business? It does make a difference. Those numbers do change with each of those scenarios. So I love that you said that's the first thing. Figure out what success means, and then what is even the goal of you having the business. That's brilliant. Definitely a first step though.
Absolutely. And then from there, you got to consider, now I can understand what will it take for me to get there. I honestly started when I decided that corporate is not going to be my long-term goal. It's not going to work for me. We all know the code switching, the corporate environment, if you guys have ever experienced that. But if you haven't, it's an interesting environment to be in. But I will say that everyone may not actually be suitable for business ownership. It is a challenge. It is hard. It is going to require you to show up when you don't feel like it, because at the end of the day, if you don't show up, unless you are able to, pay out everyone else to do the task that needs to be done, you have to show up for it. You have to do the marketing. You have to do, the copywriting for your social media posts. You have to do this, you have to do that. So if you think about all those different roles that we even take on, those roles are 5-figure, 6-figure salaries, and we're doing it all in one. So you have to figure out, what it's going to take for you to get there, but then also keep in mind, don't get so wrapped up in thinking like, okay, let me try this, let me try that, and just go for it. Figure out what your end goal is and work backwards. When I actually started, I was thinking like, okay, yeah, I mean, I'll start a firm, I have the experience, and I'm just looking to make extra $3,000 a month. I literally knew how many clients I would have to take on, how much work I would need to do during that month. And it was for me, it more so just fit into my lifestyle. I don't want to work late nights. I don't want to work all weekends. I don't want to miss important events with my family or friends. I don't want to be such a hustler that I don't have time to enjoy, vacations with my friends. I'm always having to pull out my laptop and stuff like that, or always on phone calls. I literally have a best friend who's in more of a market where he has to, talk to people all day. And sometimes I'm like, you're on phone calls from the morning you wake up to the time you go to sleep. And to me, that is a sacrifice for me as far as what my end goal is. I don't want to be on meetings all day. I love people, don't get me wrong, but you have to actually consider what it is you are willing to give up when it comes to making that money. So to me, it was comfortable for me to set that goal. I could, reach that. And it was like, okay, cool. Now, obviously, that's not to say you don't have to do those things, because I'm definitely taking a meeting with a client if I need to take that meeting. I'm definitely going to work a late night if I have a deliverable, because customer service is important to me, and making sure that, my firm and my brand is, very well positioned to, bring in more income should, someone look for, an accountant in Atlanta. You know what I mean? I'll never not do something just because I don't feel like it. That's one thing that you don't have the luxury of doing when you're growing a business, but at least understand in a roundabout way where your success is and how much it'll take you to get there, and make sure you're not just reaching for an invisible, number.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people though. You said something when you were talking about you knew exactly how much extra you wanted to make, you know how
Mhm.
many clients you needed to have. So there was a certain goal that you had. And there are so many people out here that don't have that structure. They don't have a business model that is set up to reach their financial goals. And so when you're starting like that, if you don't have those certain things in place, you're going to feel like you're always, you know, chasing your tail, you know, in a circle all the time. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and just making sure that those things are in place when you are thinking about paying yourself. So I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you, kind of, I know you said everybody is different, the goal is different. Is there some type of formula though when it comes to a percentage of what you take? What do I give to the business? What's okay? What's not okay? Is
Mhm.
there anything that plays a part with taxes that we should be concerned about when it comes to paying ourselves?
Yeah. So in general, I like to say pay yourself at least 30% of your profits. Now, profits are different than income.
Exactly.
So, what you have to think about is how are you organizing your finances to be able to see that? Because let's use me for example, an extra $3,000 a month of income is different than a $3,000 profit. For me to actually profit 3,000, I probably have to go over that by whatever margin my operating costs are, more or less. So you have to consider when you're starting out, one thing that you want to do is have a number or have a way of looking at your financials, which I know sometimes as business owners, you may not have an accountant. You may not be able to hire out a CPA right away. That's okay. Look at your bank account. The best way to understand what's going on is look at your bank account at least at the end of the month. Normally, banking apps now are becoming more integrative where they want to give you some analysis and tools. They may give you kind of like a budget breakdown of where your main expenses were, your main income, where is that coming from and how much is it? But look at how much you actually profit. So when you look at what you spent, how much does it cost for your software and apps? How much does it cost for your social media to run? How much does it cost for whatever it is for you to make the money? So some people have to worry about, I have to actually put out money to even make that money. So if you're, an online retailer, you got an e-commerce store, okay, yeah, you have to invest in your products. You have to invest in those, cost of goods before you even make that money. So consider how much you already have to spend, and then how much are you making from that? And then you need to take from there, because one thing we don't want people to do is to start thinking, oh yeah, I make money, let me pay myself. And then you cut into money that you have to reinvest in your business, or you cut into money you should have paid for taxes, even on a quarterly basis, which people forget about. IRS wants their money as you make your money, and they look to collect that 4 times a year instead of 1 time a year when it comes to tax season. So as you're making money, even consider, hey, I got to put aside my 20%, 25% for taxes. My overhead costs run me maybe 30 to 40% of the business, maybe more or less. How much extra out of that percentage can I then look to pay myself in a comfortable position where it's not going to take away from everything else? So understanding that first, because I know as business owners, when we start out, sometimes we're commingling our money or we're just bringing it in, and then we're like, ooh, got paid an invoice today, I'm going to go ahead and send me, half of that to my account. Well, hold on. Can you send half of that? Or do you got to think about what's already coming out of that already? So generally, I would say, when it comes to paying yourself, look at competitive salaries too. A lot of businesses, we start as LLCs. When you start generating certain income and you have a certain amount of distributions that you can pay yourself when it's over about 40, 50K, then you want to go ahead and switch to an S Corp. When you switch to an S Corp, what you want to do is actually Google a comparable salary in your state, or in your, district or whatever, and say, how much would e-com business owner make, who a candle, if I'm a candle business or whatever the case may be, and look at what that salary is. If you can look at that salary and then break that down monthly and pay yourself and put yourself on payroll, all the more better. Because one thing about paying ourselves, which is a trick kind of to the process, is that you can pay yourself. If I make $10,000 this month, I can pay myself 5,000 or 4,000, but that's truly just moving that money out of that account to me. When it comes to taxes, now I have to claim that on my taxes, just like I'm claiming everything else. I'm still getting taxed on that. So until I truly maybe get on a payroll, I want to keep in mind that those distributions to myself and paying myself, I still have to pay taxes after I get that money. So you don't want to run into the, hey, I have income, let me transfer over to my personal account, I'm paid, la-di-da-di. Keep in mind, pay from your profits by whatever that looks like for your business. 20 to 30%, if you want to look at a comparable salary, pay up to that amount, break it down into monthly chunks, or consider if you're able to pay yourself more than that 40 to 50K that you transfer over to an S Corp so you can get some tax benefits on that.
Love that, y'all. The gems. So much good stuff. Because it will almost be like you're double paying taxes if you're doing it just the quote unquote easy way. And I feel like a lot of times we do the easy way because it's like,
yes.
Oh, payroll, that's too much. And, this is just, let me just do this. This is easier. But there are number one, so many benefits you could get by doing it. Like it's structured for, for a reason.
For a reason.
And so there are so many benefits of doing it the right way, quote unquote. And you will save yourself so much money and time in the end. You're going to end up paying for it. I like to say there's just no easy ways of doing anything. Like you're going to pay for it one way or the other.
So. One way or the other. And that's the thing, all the PPP things that were going on today. It's really, it's not, and I like to say it's really no free anything out here when it comes to the IRS, you know what I mean? And I think that keeping that in mind, when you enter the market as a business owner, you agree, whether you know it or not, when you go and apply for the EIN and you apply for it to your Secretary of State, and you open your bank account, you're agreeing that I'm a business owner, I'm competing in the market. We're in an open market here in the US. I don't know if any of our listeners are outside the US, but it's an open market. You can make as much as you can during the year, but the IRS has it so structured where they want their P's, and unless you're making strategic decisions, they're going to get it one way or the other. So you definitely want to make sure that you're keeping in mind that I'm going to do this the most, at least tax savvy way as possible, because who wants to make all their money and pay it in? So I usually suggest, business owners, it's really case by case basis. But one thing we can all do is start to date our money, right? Sit down, have a day where you are actually focused on looking at your money in your business, in your personal life, whatever the case may be. Because a lot of times if we don't have a lot of responsibility in personal finances, if it rolls over to business, you think you're gonna have a magic wand to help you over there. No, you're gonna be in more of a mess than you would otherwise. So spend time with your money. Literally on Fridays, I sit and I'll pull up, cash flow, budgets, spending patterns. I'll look at everything and I'm like, okay, I'm obviously analyzing it for what has occurred during the month or what I expect, but I'm also just being realistic, even myself, you got to make payroll when you have people on your team as well. So keeping in mind, I have to cover for myself and other people. If I can't get paid this month because of how money's looking, at least I know that ahead of time because I'm spending time with my money. I get dressed up, I get cute. I want to be in a good mood when I'm looking at finances because I don't want to approach the situation nervous, pessimistic, like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. A lot of business owners, and I mean, it's from people who I know started off making nothing to making six figures. It doesn't matter. We have a stigma sometimes with how, in our community, we are traumatized sometimes by money. When you were younger, you may have, had entrepreneurs in your family or successful people in your family, but sometimes you had people in your family who you knew money's not on the menu. You're not, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I want to get this, I want to do that. It could be a no this week. You may not even know why, but in hindsight, there's bills due, there's other responsibilities. It's how people function in life. So when it comes to business, you got to think the same way. If there's bills due or there's things going on, I can't spend and do certain things right now. And as a business owner, sometimes it does fall down to us taking that hit on our business. But one thing that you have to do to try to prevent that sit down, have a date with your money. I'll look and say, hey, this week or this month or this quarter was a great quarter. I'm going to pay myself a bonus this quarter because I can afford it. Now, next quarter, that may not be possible because who knows how business is going to go, but look at profits and be able to pay yourself consistently. And if you can't, try and figure out, if I'm not able to hit myself this quarter, maybe I'll push it to next, and I'm going to ramp up on marketing and sales and getting that money in the door. And I'm going to be able to take a bonus next quarter. I mean, you're the business owner. Corporate companies do it for their employees and CEOs and C-suite level people every year, because they look at numbers, they look at how much this person has affected them making their money, and you get a bonus. I don't know why business owners don't think like that. You're doing probably 10 different jobs. So have a date with your money, sit down and look at it, and understand that it may be seasonal, but make sure that it sustains your level of success. If I only, was looking to make an extra whatever this month, and that's what I hit, good for me. I'm not going to sit there and be Debbie Downer. I'm going to be in a good mood. I'm going to be like looking at my money. I want to have like really good energy. I want to be optimistic. And I don't want to approach the conversation or approach, my date with my money like, oh, I don't want to see what's happening. A lot of times when we put off our finances and we don't look at them, which I know there are some people, I still can't get them to have a comfortable conversation when I meet with some of my clients. I'm like, you did good this month. Why are you on the phone? Like, on this call, nervous. And it's just, we have trauma from, how we learned about money and those personal habits. So if you can, I definitely suggest digging into that, more so than anything. How did you learn your money habits? Where did you, what is something that you learned from early on that you may need to unlearn? Sometimes I think around conversations of debt, a lot of these large corporations operate on debt. They don't operate off spending their cash. They keep their cash and invest that other places, and they operate on a line of credit. They'll operate on a business loan all day. So I think that sometimes when we hear, oh, don't get into debt, don't worry about that business loan, don't, run up that credit card, don't, if it makes sense for your business, then do what makes sense. But you have to know that from the beginning. Don't draw on a line of credit just to pay for something, that you didn't need. But if you can get a line of credit from resources like Fundbox, some of the online platforms where you can apply with your EIN, they may give you a small line of credit, but it could be $1,500 or $2,000 that you could use at some point, and then you can use your cash to pay yourself. Figure it out, look at the options and the resources, and don't kind of steer away from it. When you're literally sitting there and you have a question about, how could I get money to cover my next month or two? Google, how can a small business get money? Blah, blah, blah. Some options will pop up. They're looking to, give you that. And especially if you're, have your business operating for at least a consistency of a couple of months, and they may see you making sales and they're basing it off of that more than other things. So look at options and approach like I say, date your money, approach your date in an optimistic manner. If you notice it may not be going in the direction you would like to pay yourself, and figure out how to get it on track. Because one thing about business is, who wants to work for nothing? A lot of us have passions. We have things that we just love to do and we're good at. And there could be multiple things. Do all those things, but everything doesn't have to be your money maker. When it comes to what you have said is your business, you have to look at that from that standpoint. This business is supposed to make money and it's supposed to pay me money. And that's how you have to approach it.
Yeah, I love that. You said so many good things. I love how you said, well, the first thing is, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you know that money is not your strong suit, you have a little issues. Definitely that's an area that you need to focus on. And I'm not big into like, you have to learn everything and be an expert in everything, but you do need to surround yourself with people that can help you, that can handle that for you. And then of course, investing, reading, making sure that you invest that time in those areas where like, hey, I want to get better in this area. Definitely do that. But then you said too, just approaching the whole money thing with optimism. Girl, yes, we do have a lot of trauma around it. I know for me, for a long time, I felt guilty about paying myself because of a scarcity mindset. Oh, if I pay myself, what if something else comes up in the future, or my sales don't continue, and then I pay myself and the money's gone? So it's always kind of like, okay, let me just keep this in the bank, and then I need to figure out something else for me. But it's all a scarcity mindset. You know, you have to believe and be optimistic when it comes to money, so that you can attract that. You know, we're walking in abundance, and I don't think a lot of times we know how much abundance we have just in the state that we are. One of the things my therapist had kind of used as an example was like the toilet paper that you have, right? Most people in their bathroom have about 2 or 3 rolls in there, right? If you think about that, you have abundance. You don't need but a little bit of toilet tissue from that one roll. But in your bathroom, you have a whole bunch, right? And so a lot of times we're walking and living in abundance, and we're not really seeing it. We're not aware of it. So just like that toilet paper, I'm living in a 2-bedroom place, you know, how much room do I really need? You know what I'm saying? Really, I am in abundance. And so when you start to seeing that all the time, more and more of it will just continue to come to you. So we have to think abundantly when it comes to our money. Of course, not spending every dime, but having an abundant mindset starts with having a plan, having a budget, sitting down, like you said, a date night with your money, and making sure that you're aware and you're present and you're knowledgeable about what's going on. I always say numbers definitely motivate you. So when you can see the numbers, it necessarily not doesn't mean like, oh man, I'm hard on myself. But for me, it motivates me. Okay, I'm not where I want to be. What can we change up? What do we need to do to get better? So having the awareness, seeing the numbers is super, super important. So yeah, like you just dropped so much good perspective. Just changing our mindset around this, I think, is the big takeaway. Having that plan and not being afraid to talk about it and approach it. So you've already given so much information. Is there anything else you want to just share that you think we haven't covered, or you think people need to know in regard?
Covered a lot. I like what you said. Investing in yourself comes in a lot of forms. You know, if you are not in a position to make a financial investment in getting information or resources, look for whatever you can that is free, that is available. You know, sometimes free things get kind of discounted sometimes, where I feel like if there's something about it being free, it just seems like it's not valuable sometimes when it comes to some of these resources. I see a lot of free resources that are out here from platforms, from online communities, from, popular brands that we know. You could go on to just your banking page and find some free resources on there. They could have some little, ebook on how small business owners can do X, Y, and Z. But keep in mind, relationships are very important. It's never where one person should take on the world. You know what I mean? I understand in business, we're in I built myself, I did this, I did that. We like to, congratulate the person who did everything on their own, but sometimes it's very taxing on individuals, and comparing someone doing that in comparison to what another person may do, it may not work for everybody. So lean into community. If you can find a group of individuals and y'all start a budget or savings challenge, or, anything like that, literally invest in ways that may not be monetarily, because you may want to keep that money for yourself, right? If I can't keep an extra $400 a month or $600 a month, that could be my bonus at the end of the quarter, but I have to spend that time invested otherwise, whether it be me on YouTube University or Google University. It's just that you have to figure it out some way or the other, because there is abundance out here. You just have to go for it.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of this. Like, I've learned so much in this, 30, 40-minute conversation. Definitely lots of great information. If you guys are not following her on social media, definitely do yourself a favor and follow the Fun Friend. Of course, I'm gonna have everything, all your information in the show notes. But as far as like your services, what services do you provide?
Yeah. So if you guys want to come over to the Fun Friend community, we provide free resources there and information. We have a community survey open right now where you could go in, give us some information on you, let us know how you take your financial information. Are you a reader? Are you a podcast listener? And then what it is you're working on. Are you working on personal finances, business finances? And we usually, shoot you some resources around that. If you are a business owner and you need tax or bookkeeping help, then you can reach out to the community as well, and they'll direct you over to the firm's page or other partners, depending on what it is you need. And we definitely help assist you there. If you're making money, you don't know where your money is going, you don't know how it's coming in, you don't know what strategies to put in place to increase that, then definitely reach out for those services, and we'll definitely get you in a position where you're paying yourself. There's ways that you can look at other things that you may not be noticing to look at. So that's where, the tax and bookkeeping help comes in at. And again, just connect. If you want to DM me on the Fun Friend page, send a DM, say, hey, I listened to the podcast. I had some more questions, maybe a more personal level question, or I had just some comments on the episode. Let me know. I'm very open to speaking with you all. And if there's anything I'd love to come back on and talk about, let me know. You're going to invite me back.
Girl, we're definitely gonna have you back, girl, because I'm sure this conversation can go a lot of other different ways.
Go on and on and on. Okay.
Yes, but I have so enjoyed you here. Thank you so much for coming. And if you guys want to connect with Shanna, definitely check out all of the information in the show notes. And if that's it, we'll see you guys later.
Bye. Have a good one.